So this is the type of activity we have going on in this hobby. I say, let's take it over.
I don't drink no fucking VSOP. I drink the motherfucking OGOE. I'm from the clique that be kicking the gangster shit, bitch. Real niggas, real G, with real big dicks. I hit 'em up with the pound. So what you wanna throw up?
Hey, all Fantasy Nerds here. I'm going to just do a little level set concerning this series. And if you're new, I want to ensure you everything that you see in here is true. None of it has been embellished. Now, I'm stating this because it does seem surreal. And that's one of the reasons I'm trying to bring awareness to this. Essentially, we have a person who has positioned himself to be in a span of influence for new Savage owners. The problem is, he himself has limited knowledge, and many of the newbies probably know more than he does. That in itself is not so much malicious. However, the fact that he realizes this, he himself admits he's a fraud, and takes an attitude of, so what? In other words, when somebody kind of sniffs out that, you know, all the stuff that you've been telling people to do and the things they should buy and all of that, while it sounds convincing, it's incorrect. Well, in turn, what he does is say, so what? What are you going to do about it? He bans them. He deletes all the history of that information, and he moves on. There's an old saying that you keep it up, and one day you're gonna with the wrong person. For better or worse, I'm that person.
Motherfuckers get battered, so scatter before I keep you hostage. A nigga hostile like the Grim Reaper. So I'm coming from my hood. What hood? You really like to know it? Motherfuckers get murdered for action. Relax, kid. You're rolling with a fucking assassin. I last did dirt the other day. Betray the role of a G from the D.
Anything I can do to save you guys some money, I'm gonna do it. Even if that means simply
pounds or bow motherfucking marks to execution starts when the chronic is sparked. I'm like Barkley, rough and rugged, we're all like Rawhead. Rex, I flex murderous rhymes to leave you all dead. What's said is what's said, it's already spoke. The dead is the dead, I ain't no fucking.
So absolutely, I'm watching his ass. It's a target-rich environment as well.
Run that shit, Jay.
Always and forever, forever and always. The rhythm will flow from now on through all days. As long as the sun shines, as long as Eisenhower's on the dime. Yo, I'll be kicking the rhyme. One time for your mind, your soul, your body. DOG's on the side of me, smooth as Z&J. Hard as Bacardi, smacking those Adiac and ducks that keep quacking. Here's that
The intent here is sincere in that I genuinely want to ensure that other newbies don't get burned by make-pretend experts like this who freely throw out advice with no substance or anything behind it whatsoever. So yeah, so you know very little about the Savage.
Brand new Savvy.
Your vehicles run like crap.
Sounds like you got it right, huh?
You can't tune worth crap. You can't, all you do is this, and it's rhetoric. You've got zero substance, you're a gum flapper, and, you know, again, you know, no offense or anything, man. This is just, I owe it to people to let them know this. You are a fraud. Listen how the idol remains consistent, and it just continues to idle and idle and idle. trust me, I can show it all day long. I'm simply telling you what I've learned, and if you want to try it, all the better. Or if you have some insight on where I might be confused or any sort of feedback, please let me know. The following illustration is how it works in my mind. Watch the 3 arrows show progression. So ideally you want this and not this. A clutch has one job, and that is to take the RPMs that your engine provides and appropriately distribute that power to your drivetrain, ultimately your wheels. So what does tuning your clutch mean? The concept here is pretty simple. I stand his ass. I see where he provides not just, kind of wrong information, but where he's as wrong as you can possibly be. And I see that it will, actually hurt somebody's pocketbook. Recent example, I saw where he wrote how aluminum clutch shoes last 2 or 3 times longer than anything else out there, which is not just untrue, it's the opposite. At least in my experience, and I have plenty of data to prove it, that aluminum shoes wear faster than anything out there. Why is this important? Well, you tell somebody that, they're going to go buy a pair of aluminum shoes because, number one, they think it's needed for the Savage, and number two, they're going to quickly find out, damn, how come after, a gallon it's already starting to mushroom? That's because you listen to Jam Racer 1. Then, even though he has never owned a Works Racing product, he informs everyone that the Works Racing clutch is intended for buggies only, which once again is complete bullshit. Not only that, but if you think through it, it doesn't make any sense, because if it were to be intended for anything, which it's not, wouldn't it be more like a truck since it's a 4-shoe? But anyways, I digress. Then, as I alluded to a moment ago, he's stated multiple times how aluminum clutch shoes are more advantageous and they last longer. I'm not going to get into the video now, or excuse me, I'm not going to get into that out of this video, because again, I'm going to prove it to you guys. But the short answer is they're advantageous in certain situations and they don't last anywhere, not even close. So to put it in perspective, I would say, and I've had probably close to 20 unique aluminum clutch systems, and on average, 1.5 gallons, maybe 2 gallons. As far as plastic, nylon, composite, carbon, probably had maybe 15 unique ones, and I would say, except for the time that I melted a pair, which is my own fault, other than that, I've gone at least 10 gallons, and they look like new. And so today's myth is one that I've seen him champion, I think 4 or 5 different times, and it has to do with slop. Now, if you don't know what slop is simply play in your vehicle, right? So normally it happens in the wheels. I'll give you an example. It would be like right here, you might get like some back and forth, all right, on your wheels, but it could be other areas as well. But you know, essentially, when people refer to it, they're referring to it in their wheels. And what he has consistently told people is they should tighten their servo saver spring. The best way I can explain it is, per his MO, that makes no sense whatsoever. Now, I'm not talking about the chances being slim that it's the servo saver spring. I'm saying that it's impossible. Again, it doesn't make sense, and I'm going to show you here in a moment. But think about it this way. You know, because he's consistently told people the first thing I would check is the servo saver spring. Tighten that down. Don't bother doing that because it's not going to help you a damn bit with slop. If that were the case, right? Think about this. Well, what if somebody had slop in the back? So when the guy, you know, said that he had slop, he neglected to even ask, is it in the front or the rear? Because again, this right here is your servo saver. This is your servo saver spring. There's really no place, as far as this is concerned, where there can be slop. Now, of course, you can get slop in your pivot ball here, the bushings maybe on the servo saver arm, the Ackerman, different places like that. But the spring, that's not what that does. That's not, you know, I'm tightening it right now, all the way down. It hasn't changed a bit. You see the dynamics of it, the characteristics have not changed a bit. You know, maybe your bearing here is bad. Again, tightening this does nothing. It simply makes no sense. Now, the answer to your question, which might be, well, where do you go to find slop if it's not in the servo saver spring? And the answer is, well, anywhere but the servo saver spring itself, trust me. Now, what that servo saver does, however, is exactly that. It saves your servo. I guess I misplaced it. I thought I still had. Oh, here it is. And I'm going to show you guys real quickly. Look, when your servo is turning and you land, and suddenly things go bad. I got this thing way too tight now. What happens is this, essentially, if you can see it, gives some play. Let's get that good play going, huh? I'll tighten it here. It's so sloppy, I can't hold it. See, look, I untighten it. I'll screw it all the way down. I mean, all the way down. Look, there's no difference. There's no difference. The spring has nothing to do with it. Anyways, look right here. You guys see it right there? Bam. Huh? Okay, it provides give is what that does, so that you don't overextend your servo and screw it up. All right. But what about slop and where can you find it? I'm not going to leave you sitting in the cold. See, I'm not like this cat who just, you know, says, well, you need to just tighten your servo saver spring. And then somebody goes, well, why would I do that? You're banned, man. You know, I'm going to tell you exactly how you find slop, or at least some best practices. It's a whole video on itself. You come back to my channel tomorrow night, you're going to see it. Here's a little clip, because I filmed it a while back. I just never posted it up. But I got a pretty elegant video on how to really find slop. Here's a little teaser. While there's a lot of ways to attack slop, you first must be able to find out where it is. So I see people all the time, as an example, this low C810, which is essentially the low C10 series, like the SCTE. They sell an upgrade part that is hard anodized pivot balls, and they're expensive. They're like 30, 40 bucks. And I see people all the time buy them because they think it's going to stop the slop. And I can tell you for a fact, 100%, it does not stop slop. Now, let me be very clear on this. If your current pivot balls are the reason for much, if not all, of your slop, then yes, the hard anodized ones will fix it. Just like getting a new set of stock ones will fix it as well. What the hard anodized ones do is they take longer to become sloppy. That's it. and I run them myself. So, there's no problem having those, but I can just tell you now because, I've done that test where I've had pivot balls that were worn, and I put stock on and it fixed it. I put hard antibodies, HA balls on, fixed it. I've had slop where it turned out not to be the pivot balls. I put the hard anodized one on, still had slop. So anyways, just understand that. The way that I attack this is I always begin, in this instance, in the front clip, with the servo itself. So I will move the tire, and I'll look for any movement in the servo. Most likely you're going to find movement. If that's the case, tighten it down. If you have to get like a aluminum clamp style horn, try that. It could also be the actual gearing itself inside of the servo. I've heard of that. I've never really seen it that bad, but it could be that. Next, every single part that can pivot or move, make sure it's tight but still not binding or anything. And often what I'll do is, as an example, I will simply hold. So I'll say, let's say this piece didn't move, and I'll hold it tight and I'll move the wheel, and then you can just kind of follow it. Let me show you an example here. Another big reason for slop, believe it or not, can be your actual servo horn. Watch this. This is because my horn is not completely secure, so I'm not going to fully tighten it. I'm just going to tighten it, and wait a minute, that didn't turn out right. Now on this particular horn, I have the ability to tighten it further with these clamps. So I tighten it down. Now let's see where we're at. Much better. At least the area here. Now what I can do is I can see it in this link right here. And that's it. And you just follow the maze. All right, so that's going to be it. I hope everybody has a great evening. And remember, if you want to know what not to do with your Savage, and I'm not being a smartass here, I am being 100% serious. Log in to hpissavageforum.com, look up Jam Racer 1. There's times where I really think that it's a bit. There's times I really think that, I don't know, I just don't get it. I'm an old guy, I've told you many times. In my entire life, I've yet to see a person as ignorant on a specific subject as Nitro RC, more specifically the Savage, than this person. And then on top of that, he's sitting there telling everyone what they need to do and disallowing people from saying, no, no, stop, that's wrong. Or so he thinks. Thanks so much. Have a great day.